The latest film on my to-watch list has a complicated history. It's a sequel to a film called... That's Loki. It's a sequel to a film called V. It's a Russian film that's inspired by a Russian horror novella written by a man called Nikolai Gogol. I probably mispronounced that. It features a creature called the V, which is the Gnome King. V was a Russian film with some English actors, Jason Flemyng and Charles Dance, both of whom I'm a huge fan of. And while it did brilliantly, apparently, in Russia, internationally, it didn't do that well at all. It was released straight to DVD. Sometimes it was called V, sometimes it was called Forbidden Kingdom, sometimes it was called Forbidden Empire. It was very confusing. I hate it when movies have different names in different countries. It's needlessly confusing. But this movie, which is sometimes called V2, Journey to China, sometimes called Journey to China, The Legend of the Iron Mask, or in Australia, at least, it's just called The Iron Mask. And it got significantly more publicity because it features Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jackie Chan in supporting roles. But marketing being what it is, they're plastered all over the posters. And it can be very misleading to people who think they're going to see a Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger vehicle, which it isn't. What it is, though, is brilliant in its own right, in my opinion. Uniquely creative in terms of its aesthetic, both the period style, not sure when it's set, but tricorn hats and powdered wigs and that sort of stuff. Deliberately heightened and over the top. The fantasy elements, the design of them is so creative. It's like Terry Gilliam meets Guillermo del Toro. It's a wonderful melting pot of mythology and fiction, partially inspired by Chinese myth and partially inspired by the legend of the man in the Iron Mask and Alexander Dumas' take on that story. It's Jason Flemyng back again, but he isn't really the main character in it. He's like one of an ensemble of characters. And there was Rutger Hauer in a very, very small cameo. Blink and you'll miss it. Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger, it wasn't like they had one scene and then they were gone. They had a whole subplot to themselves. But yeah, it wasn't like a Jackie Chan and Arnold Schwarzenegger film. But I loved the aesthetic and the sort of silly sense of humor, a combination of unique visual style that's just like no holds barred, out of the box, not constrained by any loyalty or dedication to realism or anything like that. Exaggerated, over the top, beautiful really. There's a beautiful rhythm to the aesthetic that's really fun to watch. It's entertaining if you don't take it too seriously. Like, it doesn't take itself seriously at all, really. It's just good old-fashioned escapism. It may not appeal to everyone, but it appeals to me. It'd probably make a whole lot more sense if you watch the first one first. Find it somewhere and watch it, and then watch the Iron Mask / the Journey to China, whatever, etc. But yeah, good old-fashioned escapism. Works for me, might work for you. You don't know until you try.